never say you have a dream. Always say you have goals and that you want to reach your goals. I think that for me would be very important because I hear a lot of people say, I have dreams, but dreams are not reality. Goals
Yeah.
are some things you can achieve.
She recently played at C2 in Montreal. She averages about 5,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. You may know her from her songs Stoned or Move On Overnight. Please welcome Liya Bombardier to the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm good. I'm good. Excited to have this chat with you and learn a bit more about you and your music.
Yeah, I'm super grateful to be here. So thank you so much.
Yeah. So, first question that I usually use just to get things started. What was your first experience with music like, or what made you first get into music?
So actually, my dad is a musical director, a composer, and a singer songwriter for
Hmm.
Cirque du Soleil and for a lot of artists around the world. And so I was practically born in a musical family. So because of
Yeah.
that, I've always been writing songs, playing piano, and just performing and doing music. My first performance ever was when I was, I think, 9 years old. It was like in this small church that we have in my area of my town,
Yeah.
and it was like in front of 25 people, but I just loved it so much and I felt like it was my special place and I had to be there, so that's why I just continued doing music and then started releasing some songs.
Yeah. And so growing up, was there, before you started releasing music, was there anything else you thought of maybe doing in life, or was it sort of music from the start?
I would say that before I was 17 years old, I refused to do music. I would do it like on my own terms. I would be
Yeah.
singing all the time, but like I didn't want to do it professionally. Like it wasn't something that I wanted at all. And then when I turned 17 and started to go to college, I was like, this is not the place for me at all. So I didn't quit college at first. I was still doing some classes that were like just making me progress, but that weren't really important.
Yeah.
And then I kind of quit college last year and started doing music full time, while working at a part time job because music doesn't pay a lot of
Yeah.
money to
Yeah.
start. And then this year I started taking college classes again, but it's pretty much on my own terms. So it's called like a college distant college. So like you decide when you do your homework, you decide when you take the classes, and it makes me be able to like travel and do it on my own terms
Yeah.
instead of being in a physical class. But
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
at
that's
first I
awesome.
really wanted to do something else.
Yeah. I mean, that seems like a great way to still, get a college education, have classes, but
Yeah.
you can it's more focusing on music and having that rather than focusing on school and having music as a side thing.
Exactly, because I think, well, I never do something like at 50%. I always
Yeah.
give my 100% in everything, and it was just too complicated for me to actually go to school, and like I couldn't travel if I do that, and I travel a lot because of music, especially to Nashville. So it was like I couldn't travel if I was going to school, and that was something
Yeah.
that was just a no for me.
Yeah. And so what, tips or advice would you give to other people who are now just like starting a music career, want to start taking it seriously and start releasing music?
I would say that first of all, social media is extremely important in the music business, especially that like nowadays labels look at how many followers you have and stuff like
Hmm.
that. And that social media can be very, very hard to do, especially when you don't know what you're doing and you're just kind of like forced to do it in some way. I would say don't give up on social media. I know it's hard, and it it's hard for everyone, even for people who make it. Also, I would say support other artists. I think it's super important to like grow a friendship with other artists, because if you do, then you know they will support you when your songs come out, and like vice versa, what would happen when they have a song coming out. So I think those would be like my two biggest tips, is social media and just engaging a lot with other artists.
Yeah, and so about social media, about, all these platforms that people are trying to promote themselves on, do you think, it's good that sort of everyone can be given a voice, everyone can get their music out there, or do you think it sort of like makes you feel lost, like every day you're seeing a new artist that has, new like song from the summer. So what like do you think that's a good or a bad thing that it's so accessible?
So it's funny that you mentioned that, because I did a video on TikTok like 2 days ago explaining my point of view on social media right now. What I was saying is that when COVID hit, I think that a lot of people wanted to, start new passions and new projects. So a lot of like artists developed in that 2 years that we were all stuck at our houses and stuff. And it's a positive thing that people actually try to do something that they're passionate about. And I think there's nothing negative about that. I just think the negative part is that it's even come to a like being harder to actually make a
Yeah.
name for yourself in the music industry. And it's like, comparing yourself every day, like, why isn't my TikTok blowing up, why is theirs blowing up, what am I doing wrong, and stuff like that. And I think it's gotten to a point where there's like so many artists, it's kind of crazy. But that's why I think engaging with other artists is very important, because you never know who's going to blow up on TikTok and then have your back, and make you blow up and stuff like that. So I think that's why it's really important to just engage and be like helpful to everyone.
Yeah, yeah. No, that definitely seems like a good take, and most of it probably seems right. I mean, there are tons of artists that like started, their careers or started the music during the pandemic and
Yeah,
now are coming out and releasing it.
for sure.
Um, and so, pretty recently you played at C2 in Montreal. What was that opportunity like for you getting, such a notable stage to perform your music?
So C2 was so awesome, and it was such a great opportunity, because it's not I did a festival this summer, which a festival and like what I did at C2 is totally different, because at a festival you have like people are there to go to and see, like, go listen to music and the artists that they love. And C2 was
Yeah.
more of a marketing, like, um well, you can say festival. It was like a marketing event, and so there's a lot of important people being there, and I think it's just making new contacts and just being able to play in front of people who have big businesses. And you never know what can happen in those shows, which is even more awesome. I got the president of the what is it called? I don't remember what it's called. It's one of the biggest um festivals in Quebec. Like, he came to me and he was like, if ever you want to pitch, like, for you to be on that festival, just contact me and stuff like that. So you never know who's going to be where. And I mean, that's the same thing for every show, but C2 was just an amazing opportunity, and I really loved it so much, and it was so awesome.
Yeah. And you mentioned that you also have experience with festival shows. What's sort of the difference for you between like a festival show and a show like put on for you? And do you change your approach at all for those different types of shows?
So, since I'm an emerging artist, like, not a lot of people know my songs, and so at a festival, what I did actually, is that I was playing one of my songs and then doing a cover. I think it just gets people to like want to stay, and when they know songs, they kind of sing to them. And one thing that I love at that festival was that the people in front, like right in front of the stage, they were like people who knew my songs and were singing my songs also. And that was like the moment that I was like, oh my god, this is so awesome. Because it's like
Yeah.
you can never imagine what it's gonna be like if when people sing your songs, and that was like an amazing experience. And at C2, what I did was I did only my songs because I was like, I know there's not gonna be people who know my stuff, but doing only your music can kind of show people who you are as an artist. And I think it
Yeah.
was super important to me to just show all of my material and be like, okay, well, this is who I am, and these are my songs that are either like out or not out, because I do like 50% of songs that are already released, and then another 50% of unreleased songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when you're doing that, you give them a sample of who you are, but with all the songs, but do you think there's one song in particular that really defines your sound, or do you think it is sort of something that you have to get all of them together to hear?
I think, like, especially in the last year, I've written so many songs. Like, it was crazy. And when Stone and Move On Overnight came out, I felt very overwhelmed because I was like, is this going to be my sound forever? Or do I want to change stuff? And
Mhm.
like, you're at the beginning, you're still trying to find what you like and what you don't. And Stone, for example, is a song that like I love so much, and that really like defines who I am, because it was not too pop, yet it was not too slow. It was like kind of a mid tempo, which was something that I really like doing. And then I have a song coming out on November 18th, and it's called Black Heart, and that one is up tempo. And like, I had never done an up tempo song before that one, and I was like, oh my god, I love this too. So it's kind of weird because like when you put all my songs together, you get kind of that new sound that like I love. And when you look at them all apart, then you're like, okay, this artist changes her song every single time that she's doing
Yeah.
a new song. So I think I think you have to listen to, all of the songs to kind of get the image of what you like.
Mhm.
Um, but the thing that was important to me was not doing the same thing all the time, because music is very subjective, and it's like some people will like some certain things and some people will like other things. And to me it was like, I love everything, so let's just do everything and try and see what works and what doesn't.
Are you a music artist trying to find a way to get your music on as many streaming platforms as possible? Then check out DistroKid. DistroKid is a super user-friendly and super easy-to-use service that will make your music available in stores like Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Amazon Music, YouTube, Snapchat, everything. Everything you could imagine, it's available. People will even be able to add your songs into their Instagram stories. DistroKid helps you with the distribution, monetization, and promotion of all of your music. Use the link in the description of this video for 7% off any DistroKid package you want. Pick from musician packages designed to help artists get their own music out there, or even get a label package where you can manage up to 100 artists from one profile. So that's more for like managers, labels, and you can also get the musician package that I mentioned earlier, which is more for artists, producers, things like that. And super easy, and you can get 7% off any package right now with the link in the description of this video. So once again, if you're looking for a way to get your music on as many streaming platforms as possible, I'm talking any platform you can think of, get DistroKid and get 7% off right now with the link in the description. Back to the program. With all these songs, you're trying out different things. For your most recent song, Look Me in the Eyes, what was the story behind that? What were you trying out with that song, if anything? Just give us a little more about that song specifically.
So, Look Me in the Eyes is very, very different from anything that I've ever done. And, like, if I look at all my catalog of songs that are unreleased, there's nothing that sounds like Look Me in the Eyes. So actually, the story behind Look Me in the Eyes is pretty cringe and like very soft. So, my boyfriend, every time like I've been cheated on and lied to in past relationships, and
Mhm.
Look Me in the Eyes was about, like, not being able to trust someone when you get in a new relationship because it's hard, and one thing that my boyfriend always tells me when, like, I feel like he's lying, he'll say, "Look at me in the eyes, like, I can't lie to you if you're looking at me in my eyes." So I just thought it was such a clever way to say it to someone, like, I'm not gonna lie to you and stuff. So I started writing that song in Nashville, and I actually finished it over a year ago. And it took a year to get released because of so many things, but it's one of my favorite songs that I've ever done, and I always write things that have happened to me because I like when I can relate to a song.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was that one is super important to me, and I was so happy when it came out.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of artists now are being relatable with their music, and I think that definitely is important because a lot of those are the artists you start to see, get fame and notoriety because people can relate to their music. If you write something about, already being at the top, no one's gonna be able to relate to that 'cause they haven't gotten
Exactly.
there. But,
Yeah.
when you're writing about just normal everyday occurrences, they can get down with that, and so, um with all these, hard moments in life, but also in music, has there ever been anything that made you second guess music, made you want to, think about taking a break from music, or have you just kept going without, any problems?
I think I second guess music every day, but
Hmm.
I think it's normal when you start and when you're like a lot changes every day and you just kind of get into the mold of what is happening. And for me, it was like, especially social media, because when I started doing my TikTok, it's like I gained a lot of followers fast. And then like it kind of just stopped, and then I started losing followers, and I was like, what is happening, what am I doing wrong now? And like I haven't gained followers in past, I think, 7 months. And so
Yeah.
like those 7 months were great for writing and for doing other things than social media, but the fact that when you know that social media is the only thing that'll get you like a label, a record, or whatever, it's like you kind of get frustrated and then you get like discouraged and you're like, well, I'm not doing music anymore because I can't do
Yeah.
it. And I think it's just getting over that and just being like, this is my business. Music is fun, but it's also a business when you want to do it for life and do
Yeah.
money with that and stuff. So I think it's just important to get past the fact that social media can be very hard. I've had like so many feedbacks like that were so positive from other songs, and I think that's when you need to like focus on the positive things instead of negative. But it's so normal to like second guess music and being like, "Ugh, I don't know if I want to do this anymore cuz this is hard." But like if it was easy, everyone would do it. And that's
Yeah.
where it's important to just continue being consistent and stuff.
Yeah. And, this sort of perseverance or this consistency, is there any one person that, inspired that in you, or did you just sort of naturally find that in yourself?
I think so. Having my dad being someone who's now known in the music industry, but I saw him like struggle for 20 years. I've only been alive 19 years, but I
Yeah.
mean, I've seen him struggle a lot in the past years for music and giving everything he had and seeing him like fail and then get up and do it again. I think that just proves that like if you continue giving efforts and if you continue to put your all into the thing that you love the most, you will get results. It's a matter of time. And some people it takes overnight and that's just crazy for them. And some people it'll take 20 years, but if you don't give up, it'll happen at some point.
Yeah, yeah. But then, a lot of these overnights, either it's overnight blow up and then plateaus,
Yeah.
or, if it's mostly from social media, it'll be like overall like blow up, like tons of followers, and then they do a show and they're performing to like 150 people
Yeah.
because social media is free. And when you put on a concert and people have to buy tickets, that's, really when you get tested as who's a fan of you, who's ready to spend money on you to come see you, and that's, I think, a big part of it. And,
Yeah.
arguably outside of the music, the most important part of it.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
so when you're coming up with a new song for the music, what is, you mentioned writing all these songs. Did that, just come naturally? Did you have sort of a creative process that you saw sort of come into place? How do you come up with new songs typically?
So all of my songs that are coming out, like in the next few months, I've all co-written them with a girl from Nashville. So what we would do is sometimes at like midnight, I get this strong feeling that I need to write a song, and it's usually at night for me because that's when everyone thinks a lot before going to
Yeah.
sleep and stuff. And so I have a piano in my room, and what I do is just play some chords and just try stuff. And then, I don't know, like a melody will come in my head and I'll just start singing whatever. Like, literally, nothing makes sense of what I'm singing, but then I'll say two words or like three or even a sentence that I really love and then build on that.
Mhm.
So, for me, it's like I'm not thinking necessarily about something that I want to write and then write about that. It's for me, it starts with a word. It'll start with, a sentence, whatever. But I don't really like sit down, write my all of my lyrics, and then
Yeah.
find music for it. I can't do that. I think people who
Yeah.
do that are awesome, and I wish I could do that. But for me, it's like I need the music, or I need like some sort of instrument and chords before starting to write.
Yeah. You need the sound or the instrumental
Yeah, for
first
sure.
and then come up with lyrics to then.
Yeah, yeah, and especially like the melody part, for me it's easier to have a melody and then write lyrics than having lyrics and then come up with a melody. Like, I think that's so hard to do, and
Yeah.
I couldn't do that.
Yeah. And so when you're sort of trying to come up with new songs, is there any inspiration you take maybe from other artists or anything like that?
For sure. I think everyone's always a little inspired by some people. My favorite artist is Billie Eilish, and
Yeah.
I get a lot of inspiration from what she does, and I love her so much, and I respect everything that she does, and I think her brother is the most genius person on this planet.
Yeah.
But so I would take like Billie Eilish, especially for sounds. I think like lyric wise, I don't really relate to what she does, but for sounds I love it so much. And then for lyrics, I tend to go more of like Olivia Rodrigo, for example, cuz
Mhm.
her lyrics really resonate with things that girls my age will go through. And I think that's why her album was so popular, is that every single song was a subject or was something that every girl could relate to. Like,
Yeah.
any girl went through that, and I think that was so intelligent to do that. And so that's what I've been trying to do with my music too, because I was like, it doesn't have to be like her. I mean, it's just having something that some people can relate to and being like wide enough that it's not especially on one subject. I think that's what's important to me to be writing on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it seems good because it seems like you're finding inspiration but still have ways to, separate
Yeah.
that inspiration and your own sound. And so does that just come because you're not directly inspired, or do you have to do something to make sure do you ever catch yourself, I guess, being too similar to one of your inspirations?
I think I remember one time I was writing on the piano and I was like, "Oh, this melody is great." And then I kind of started singing it like more and more, and then I was like, "Oh my god, this is an Olivia Rodrigo song." Like, "Oh no."
Yeah.
Like, that happens sometimes and I'm like, "Okay, you know what? Let's just not write a song today, because then I will have that in my head for the rest of the day and I'm like, okay, I can't, like, today is not working." And I think
Mhm.
it's normal to just sometimes be like, "Oh my god, I wrote this genius stuff, but it's someone else's song." And
Yeah.
even with the fact that there are so many artists on this planet right now, it's harder and harder to make something like special in some kind of way because like using everything and like I mean, there's a number of possibilities you can do with chords on the
Yeah.
piano also. So I think that, like when people say as like on my TikTok, if some like a hater will say, "Oh, this sounds like any other song," I'm like, yeah, well, every song kind of looks alike or like
Yeah.
sounds alike because it's
Yeah.
normal.
And I think a lot of times when people get that sort of comment, you can take it as a good thing, but also take it as a bad thing, but also a good thing. You can
Yeah,
put your own spin on it. I had a pop group on here, and they were saying, we get comments all the time, and they're like, "You guys just sound like AJR," and they were like, "AJR is one of the biggest bands in the world right now, selling out arenas. Like, if we're in any sentence with them, that's great. We're happy with that."
exactly. Like some people say, "Oh my God, Leah, you sound like Tate McRae." I'm that's a compliment, guys. I don't know if you guys are trying to say that I sound like someone
I don't
who's
know if you've kept up with Tate
famous.
McRae's career, but she's, doing something in the space and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like, you can take it negative, but in the music industry, trying to take some positive more than negative is important because then you won't, get depressed over small little things.
This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Bond Touch. Bond Touch is committed to creating healthier and happier relationships, and in order to achieve that, they created the Bond Touch. This bracelet is designed to bridge the distance between relationships by enabling touch to be sent over any distance. The app and services that come with the bracelet provide the intimate space relationships need to have fun, learn, and grow. Bond Touch has over 1 million users and averages 2.5 million touches every week. The longest distance ever recorded between two touch band users were 12,000 miles. Use a Bond Touch to send a touch to a loved one wherever, whenever. Defeat the distance by using Bond Touch's app and bracelet to connect with others. Just wear a bracelet of your own that's paired with another, and touch the screen to send their band vibrations that mimic your touch. Keep a special someone close, with every touch kept in the app ready for replay. Decorate your devotion with unique styles, customizable bands, and custom message colors. Learn more about all features of the Bond Touch itself at bond-touch.com and use my discount code BONDBBHeroic at checkout for 5% off any Bond Touch order. Go order a Bond Touch More, or a Bond Heart now and use code BONDBBHeroic for 5% off your order at checkout. Once you've released music, is there a song of yours that maybe performed better or worse than you initially thought it would, or like had expectations for?
So Stone performed very well, and
Hmm.
um, so before Stone came out, I think like 6 months before it came out, I was doing TikToks, and I had never had a video go viral of mine like ever, 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 and I was in my car and I was like, "Hey guys, so I wrote this song about my ex," and like I, Stone was playing over, and then it got like I think it was 300K views, and I was
Yeah,
like, "Oh my God, what is happening?" I didn't understand anything, and then when it came out, it got a lot of attention, and it was on Spotify editorial playlist, and it
yeah,
was, a lot of people were commenting that I didn't even know that like it to me what was special is that people that I didn't know was sharing like my song, and I was like, "Oh
yeah,
my God, this is so awesome." But after that it was like I felt kind of numb because every other song wasn't doing as good as Stone, and I was
yeah,
like, is this over? Was Stone my only shot? And that's when I understood like, no, it just happens that if your song gets like viral on TikTok,
yeah,
like gets a lot of views on TikTok, it'll do better than other songs because it gets more pre-saves and stuff. But then Look Me in the Eyes got on big editorial playlists on Spotify. Like it was on Fresh Finds and Fresh Finds Pop and It's a Bop. And what is awesome is that not Spotify, but Stone was only on Canadian playlists,
Yeah.
and then Look Me in the Eyes was on, you know, UK and USA playlists, which makes a huge difference because then your
Yeah.
listeners are more international than, you know, having only listeners in Canada, which
Yeah.
is super awesome.
Yeah. And, through all your songs, just your career as a whole, is there any message you want to get across with your songwriting, or does it sort of just change song to song?
I think, you know, my songs reflect like a part of who I am. When I write a song about someone who did me wrong, you know, it means that I went through that, and
Hmm.
now I'm able to write about it. But if you asked me 2 years ago to write about, you know, the things that really messed my heart up, I wouldn't be able because I was too much in it, you know.
Yeah.
And when you get out of a toxic relationship and you feel like you're worth nothing, you know, it can show even in your business side. You can like doubt
Yeah.
yourself in
Yeah.
everything you do. And I think I'm at a point right now where I deeply believe that I can become, you know, the next Billie Eilish.
Yeah.
That's my goal. And also, one thing that's really important is never say you have a dream. Always say you have goals and that you want to reach your goals. I think that for me would be very important because I hear a lot of people say, I have dreams, but you know, dreams are not reality. Goals
Yeah.
are some things you can achieve. So I think that would be like the most important thing to like as a message of if you want to achieve things, just work hard, you know, be consistent, work hard, and find ways to be able to grow as an artist. Don't stay at the same place that you were like 2 years ago. Change some things, try some
Yeah.
new stuff, and I think that's what's really important.
Yeah. Well, if you sort of got like this chance to make a song with any artist in the world, like you got to choose, who would that be?
Oh my god. Oh my god, that's a tough question because
Yeah.
I
And
I don't know. Honestly, I would say Justin Timberlake because
mhm.
okay, so I've loved Justin Timberlake ever since I was a kid. I know every single one of his songs, and I just think that his music is so amazing, and I think I would do like a duet with him for sure. I love him so
Yeah.
much. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, sort of in the same vein, do you have a venue that you would love to play, or like, sort of if you gotta pick any venue in the world to perform at?
I think like being realist and stuff, I would say I would love, you know, as a Canadian, as a actually like I would love to sell out the Bell Center in Montreal. Like that for
Mhm.
me would be such a huge accomplishment because that place is where I went to see so many shows of so many big artists, and also because the Montreal Canadiens play there.
Mhm.
And I feel like that to my country would be such like a flex. But
Yeah.
I would love to sell the, you know, Bell Center and then Madison Square Garden and, you know, every arena
Yeah.
around the world that you can
Yeah,
think.
yeah. Yeah. And so, we've mentioned a couple of these, Billie Eilish, Justin Timberlake. Do you have sort of your favorite 3 pop, like, bands or artists of all time?
Yeah, so my first would be Billie Eilish, and then
Mhm.
my second would be Lennon Stella. That girl is like, if you don't know her, go listen to her music because she is one of the best artists that like lyric wise and like wise. I love her so much.
Mhm.
And my third would be Noah Cyrus. I Her first EP was my favorite EP that I've ever like listened to, and I don't listen to a lot of like EPs or albums, but hers I know every single lyric, and she's coming to Montreal like I think in the next few days or weeks, and I'm
Yeah.
like, Dad, get me some tickets. I'm going
You're
to see
scrambling
Noah.
to go to those shows.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And, for your own music, is there a song of yours that you've released that's your favorite?
I would say "Look Me in the Eyes" for sure was my favorite.
Mhm.
Just as
And
of least for now, it's "Look Me in the Eyes."
yeah, just is that just because of, the story behind it, the time it took you to get it out?
I think you
Like
know what? It's not even about that. It's just it's so different from literally anything that I've ever listened to. Like to me, it's very
yeah,
different, and I don't feel like it does. Like it's not pop for me. It's like
yeah,
very like you don't really know what's going on in that song, and
yeah,
it's so different. So I think that's why it's because it's so special that it's special to me also.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you mentioned it earlier, but your upcoming song, Blackheart, what can we expect from that? Is it gonna be, different, like Look Me in the Eyes? Is it gonna be back to the old sound? What can we expect from that?
So Black Heart is actually written in the perspective of being a guy who's very toxic.
Mhm.
So like I was actually in this relationship where the guy would always be manipulating me and lying and like cheating, but would put it on my, like it was my
Yeah,
fault if he was
yeah,
doing that. So Black Heart is like as if I was the guy, like I don't love you, I don't want to, and stuff
yeah.
like that. It's a very like you can dance to it song, if you know what I mean. Like it's very up tempo and it's
It's
really
your bad
different.
guy.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And it's
Yeah,
like it's very different from anything that I've ever done. So I don't think
mhm.
if you go listen to any other of my songs, you would never find a sound like Black Heart is. And that's why I'm really excited for it to be out because it's super different
Yeah.
again. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, those are all the questions I had for you today, but thank you
Right.
so much for coming on. It's been a great time. Where can people find you online? Promote Blackheart when that comes out. Where can they pre-save it? Anything like that? Feel free to promote it.
So, Blackheart, it's in my Instagram bio at Liya Bomb, and my name is written LIYABOMB. Same thing for my TikTok. So, on Instagram and TikTok, they're both in my bio. So you guys can go, pre-save that song right there, and it's coming out on November 18th on every platform. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank
Well,
you so
I'll
much for
definitely.
having me.
Yeah, no problem. I'll keep an eye out for Blackheart. Can't wait to
Thank
hear
you
it
so
when it comes
much.
out. And yeah, thank you again for coming on.
Thank you.